Rage holiday. No, they don't.
Welcome to the Englewood Call, hosted by RAGE, the Resident Association of Greater Englewood. I am Aisha Butler, the current president and one of the co-founders of RAGE, and I am joined today with Cherice L. Price, another dynamic RAGE member, who will be talking about financial wealth and security and some of the other things that Cherice Price is basically adverse to. So Cherice Price, welcome to the Englewood Call.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And so I'm just going to dive right in and tell a little bit about yourself. I know you are a long-time resident of the Englewood community. You also have your master's in science and rehabilitation psychology counseling from, is it IIT?
IIT, correct.
From IIT. Mm-hmm. You are a licensed counselor by trade.
That's right.
And then you made the switch to as an entrepreneur into financial services. And now you're a licensed insurance rep. You also still do professional clinical counseling. And then you also have an expertise in workforce development.
That's right.
So I know that was a handful, but the reason that we do this show is to really highlight some of the good in Englewood and the people who live and who are rooted from the community. I think oftentimes people think it's a certain characteristics that the people from Englewood have, and they might have not thought that these credentials can come from a community like Englewood. So I'm going to just start right in it and just ask the first question, as I'm asking all the RAGE members.
Sure.
What brought you to RAGE?
So I learned about RAGE in 2011. I was doing some volunteer work in the community of Englewood. And one of the person, I think he was a member at the time, I'm not sure, but he introduced me to yourself, Aisha, and I was actually looking for something. I was looking to get involved with a community organization. I just wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
As you said, I do have a lot of credentials, and I was looking to give back to the community, so to speak. And so I was introduced to you, learned about all of the great things that RAGE was doing, and I thought it definitely was a great opportunity for me to jump in and kind of give back, so to speak, to the community.
I love that. And so when you, with all those different credentials, those are a lot of different things. What does your passion, where does your passion lie?
Where's my passion? That's a good question. Well, I'm very passionate about sharing my knowledge. I'm very passionate about helping people reach their own sort of internal destiny type of a deal. I think that's why I was really interested at first in becoming a licensed clinical therapist.
Gotcha.
But along the way, I kind of found myself as an entrepreneur, kind of like in business a little bit more than psychology.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I switched over. But I like to tell people, you know, I don't look at it like I'm all over the place. I look at it like it's an experience. Like you kind of stumble your way through life and through different jobs to kind of figure out what you're passionate about.
Gotcha.
And so that's exactly what happened with me. So I'm very passionate about sharing what I've learned with other people. Very passionate about giving people their own voice, very passionate about helping people find their own voice.
Gotcha.
Type of a deal. And so, you know, I'm very much interested in entrepreneurship. So that's, you know, why I am doing this now.
I was going to say, do you think that your experience as a clinical or a counselor actually helps or aid the work that you're doing now in the financial services arena?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say yeah or nay. You know, I don't know.
Okay.
I know that with psychology, I've learned a lot about human behavior. I can say that. So I've learned a lot about human behavior. I learned a lot about what drives people, and maybe, you know, I can't say yeah or nay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your work. We'll kind of start with the financial piece first. Okay. So in this position, what are some of the major ideas that you stress to clients about achieving financial security and wealth, especially in a community like Englewood?
Well, first, especially like you said, in a community like Englewood, the first thing that I like to stress to people is it starts with a mindset. You know, a lot of times people say I want to be, you know, financially wealthy, or I want to be, you know, financially free, but we don't know the first place to start. You know,
Gotcha.
we don't understand
Right.
that we have to start with something as simple as learning to pay ourselves first. You know, we
Wow.
have to learn that and all that does is just build discipline
Right.
type of a deal.
Right.
So we don't know that we got to learn the basic concepts to building wealth. So I like to
Gotcha.
teach my clients that you got to start with paying yourself first and foremost, and then you have to figure out what your goals are for the long term financially. You know,
Is that hard for people to do though?
it's not. It's not hard to do.
Okay.
It just starts again with a mindset. You know, I grew up in Englewood like most people. Neither one of my parents graduated from high school, and you know, so the expectation for my life pretty much was just graduate from high school because that's what my parents, they didn't do that, so they only expected
Wow.
me to do that.
And that was as far as they
That was as far as they thought that I would go. So at the end of it, it all starts with you. It starts with a person wanting to change. And so once you decide that you want to change yourself, especially financially, then everything else comes pretty easy, I believe.
Gotcha. So if you so then you stumbled in the financial arena, and I think what have you seen as an expert, the most common mistakes that people are making with their finances? Because even I think about myself, you know, I'll get fast food before I put money to the side,
Yeah.
or like my daughter, she wants to go shopping, and we just spend. What are some? I don't know. I'm an average individual.
That's right.
But you know, what are some common mistakes that you see time and time again with folks?
Just pretty much what you just said, overspending.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times we don't look at our paycheck as we're going to save first and then spend later.
Okay.
We look at it like we got this money, we're going to spend first and then try to save what we have left, and that doesn't work.
Right.
Now, I am someone that did that all the time. You talk about someone that would eat out. I hated cooking dinner. I would eat out all the time. And then, you know, once I got into this industry, probably about 3 years ago, I decided that if I want to leave or create generational wealth for my kids and their kids and so forth, I had to start leading by example. And so I knew that I had to start saving first,
Wow.
paying myself first, and then spending later.
And I know we had, you know, got some really nice, you know, slides about these really big houses, because that's what everyone wants.
That's right.
Everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants a nice livelihood. But like you said, you know, the mindset is sometimes very difficult to crack to. If you was to outline, or could you outline just steps of creating a healthy short-term budget, just for the average person who may be watching, or either a long-term financial plan? What is like some steps that you would say to do first?
The first thing I would say is the person have to have a budget. You know, you have to look at your own personal finances just as a business will look at their finances. You have to have an understanding of what's coming in versus what's going out.
Gotcha.
Not enough people do that. You know,
Okay.
we know how much we're paid annually, but our annual salary is not the real number, because we are paid a net amount, not
Right.
a gross amount.
Right, exactly.
So if we take an actual look and say, okay, I have, you know, $5,000 coming in and I'm paying out $4,000, where you have $1,000 left in discretionary income, what do you do with that income?
Okay.
So I would start with that first.
Okay.
The second thing I would do is I would sit down with a financial professional who can help you. You know, if you're looking for long-term growth, if you want to retire by, say, age 50, you know,
Gotcha.
what does that look like? What is your retirement dollar amount?
Right,
What do you need
right.
to have set up? So you definitely want to start looking at what you have coming in versus what's going out. Sit down with a financial professional that can help you along the way.
Now, I'm not picking on Englewood, but that's where we're from. That's where our association is based in.
That's
You're
right.
talking about a community with 40% living below the poverty level. 28% of the individuals are unemployed. You know, our percentage is very high. How does that message translate to that population? I mean, I understand it to a certain extent. You know, I have a retirement plan. I'm saving. You know, things like that. But just living in a community like Englewood, how does that translate? How do you translate that message over?
Well, first, I think it has to be well received. Like
Okay.
a person got to be tired of being tired. I mean, that's
Okay.
just it. Like, you got to be tired of being broke at some point.
Right.
You know, and so for me, like, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, again, my story, I started out, grew up in Englewood. You know, neither one of my parents graduated from high school. You know, how did I go on to accomplish what I accomplished? I started reading good books. I mean, that's just the honest to God truth. I
Okay.
started reading, and expanding my reality, started seeing outside
Real
of
quick, what's a book you can recommend real quick to our viewers if you was to say just to start?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
One of my favorite books because
That's
it
a great
definitely
book.
breaks it down. It breaks it down for you. And that's financial services. If you're looking for something
Right.
on mentality, I would say something by Steve Siebold, 177 Mental Toughness. Yeah, one of my favorite books. But, I think a person have to be they have to be ready to receive that information.
Okay.
We are dealing with people that have been consumers most of their lives. So now we're telling them, okay, don't consume so much, start producing more. And you're right. Englewood is a community that has, more unemployment, a higher unemployment rate than someone else, than other communities. But I like to believe that shouldn't affect you. Like you really can create your own economy, type of a deal. We have a lot of skilled people in Englewood.
Yeah, that's true.
And as I drive through the community, I drove through one time and I was showing my kids. I said, let's look at all of my kids. I was telling them, like, look at all of these businesses. How many are resident owned? How many are black owned? Compared to, say,
very little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's a problem because we're very talented in that community. And so if we can just take some of the skills that we do have and start creating our own economy, I think we can do some major stuff.
So our Rage member, Cherice L. Price, just recommended the first book to get is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She is a financial expert. She is also an Englewood native. She has a whole lot of skills that we're talking about today, but mainly rooted in financial services and really creating wealth and security for your family. But I also know that you have a passion for the workforce and that you are skilled and doing a lot of things that can get people working, and you've had several things in Englewood that you've worked on. We've even started an organization together and some things that was rooted in workforce. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Why are you passionate about getting people working?
I'm passionate about everything related to economic stimulus. If it's about business development, I love it. I love it. I don't know how I wound up in psychology, to tell you the truth, because I'm very much interested in numbers and business and finance. I love that. I love that stuff. So, when I got my bachelor's degree, bachelor's in business administration, minored in economics.
Okay.
And so my first job out of college was as a job developer. And so I had to close deals, get people hired, that type of a deal. And so that was a skill set that I was really good at it. I always exceeded my numbers. I was very good at it, and it became a passion of mine. So, again, anything related to economic development, getting people hired, creating, putting money back into the economy, especially our economy of Englewood, I love that. So yeah, so anything related to that. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So what are some of the things that that you've done in terms of workforce initiatives? Maybe some of the have you worked with organizations in the community? What does that look like? Do you do a curriculum? Just talk about that a little bit.
So most recently I've worked with Teamwork Englewood. Okay. And what I teach what's called a job search etiquette workshop.
Wow.
And so it pretty much is centered around, because a lot of times people are just sending their resume blind.
Right.
And they're like, I'm applying to 30 jobs a day. Well, that's the first mistake you made, right? Because you can't, when you're looking for a job, you're not looking for volume. You're looking for what you qualify for. And so, when you're emailing your resume to all these people, you're just a piece of paper. You really got to take the time to be proactive in your job search. And so that's what the job search etiquette workshop is about. And we've conducted 2 so far, 2 in the month of July.
Do you also help with the resumes?
I do.
For them to create their resumes?
I do. Help with the resumes, and I actually bring in employers for them. We've gotten 3 people hired so far. We started in July.
That's good.
3 people. It's really good stuff, And I just started doing this with Teamwork Englewood, and I'm hoping sometime soon that we can really develop a comprehensive workforce development, piece, because I think that's what's lacking in Englewood. A lot of people say that they're doing workforce development, but if you train a person and they don't have a place to take that training, that's not real workforce development.
Gotcha.
If you're going to train them, they need to be able to take that to a job so they can get paid for the skill that you just gave them.
So you're finding that most of the programs that currently exist is that they're training, but actually they don't have the end result of the
No.
actual employer to connect them back to that training.
I've not seen that.
Okay, because I know, we have a college, we have KKC there, we have a couple of organizations that I've heard do some workforce development, but I'm glad that you've been able to kind of identify that as a niche and
That's right.
be able to, really help people with those soft skills, like just, our viewers who are just watching us, just knowing who may be looking for a job. I think most of the time you are in that kind of desperate space that you do just send out your resume blindly. You're not thinking about your actual qualifications. You're not being selective on the companies and not really feeling like this is a company that I really work for. So, I wanted to really do this show to find out more about what our members were doing and some of the things that you do, because Rage does a lot of work and sometimes we don't have the opportunity to learn all the different skills about our members. And Cherice is definitely one of those dynamic members who she works kind of behind the scenes. I know we're on the news sometimes, but I'm glad that you was able to share that a little bit. Is your goal to have your own office in the Englewood community? And if so, what steps are you taking to make that happen?
That is definitely one of my goals. Unfortunately,
Do we have an insurance?
We do not. It's so unfortunate. We do not. We do not have an insurance agency in the community of Englewood, and that is my goal. My goal is to not a one.
State Farm.
Not a one. Not a one.
I'm gonna have to look that
so
up.
I am. I've done my research.
Okay.
But no, I'm just joking. But no. But honestly though, like there is not an insurance agency in Englewood.
Okay.
There's not one. And I am definitely going to be the first to make that happen. I'm looking to make that happen.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I have a South Side office, but I'm looking to expand to Englewood because that's where I grew up at. That's the community. That's where my heart is. That's where that's the community that I'm passionate about. And we need insurance services too. I mean, Englewood is we have a lot of money that circulates in that community.
Yeah, it's been studies that talked about I don't want to say billion, but I know it's about $4 million per square mile or something that I read in a retail study.
Absolutely.
About the buying power in the community. So it's hard to hear about our buying power in Englewood and then at the same time see that 40% are living below the poverty level. So I think that's really interesting. So it would be probably beneficial to have our own kind of insurance company, Black-owned, resident-owned insurance company in the community.
Absolutely.
So are you kind of working on that plan as we speak? Or?
I am working on that plan now. I am hoping to have that done by November. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm looking at a space now, and the build out I was told would take until like November. So so we shall see.
Okay.
But that's what I'm looking to do. We don't have a place to go and get become financially educated within our community. And I shouldn't say there's no place because I do know that there are some people that are doing that.
Okay.
But I'm looking to do it at a more, I guess, a more comprehensive level type of a deal.
So, if in your own words, I mean, it's a lot of issues that are in a community like Englewood. The issues that you're passionate about, why should those be at the forefront of a community like Englewood?
Well, it should be at the forefront because we're talking about people's personal finances. We're talking about their money. We're talking about their livelihood. We're talking about wealth generation. I'm so tired of hearing about how depressed Englewood is and how bad of a community it looked like. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you start? Like, why don't you open your own business? Why don't you buy $1 million life insurance plan? Why don't you financially educate your kids and so that when you pass on, you leave them that $1 million and they can continue the business.
Right.
So true. I'm just saying, like, why don't we be the generation, just us Generation Xers, why don't we be that generation that make that change.
Right, I like that. And I know we are Generation X, but our membership, we do have,
I know.
We have we have our millennials, we have our Gen Ys, we have our baby boomers, because, it does take a village to attack, some of the things that are happening in our community.
Absolutely.
And I have a pretty loaded question, and I'm going to try to read it slow so our viewers can really hear it. oftentimes we really frame financial success in terms of personal responsibility, right? It's my own personal thing. One support network also has a big impact. The people who support me will also have an impact on me getting ahead financially.
That's right.
Do you have ideas about how we could utilize stronger community networks, either through Rage or the churches in the community or some of the other institutions, to really increase our collective financial success?
So, absolutely.
I know that was loaded.
It was very loaded. It was very loaded. But you're right. I mean,
Say thank you to our intern. Our intern.
She developed that question?
Developed
Okay.
a lot of great questions for our guests today.
You know, to be honest with you, we will not gain anything without moving collectively. If I open this insurance company and no one comes and buy from me,
Right.
I'm out of business.
Gotcha.
That's just it,
Right.
right? And so we have to move as a unit. We have to move as a team.
Yeah.
And so I think that what we can do is we can all come to the table and we can say, listen, we understand that this is a problem.
Right,
You know,
right.
I keep reading all the time, like, you know, we have $1 trillion in buying power,
Right.
and you know, but
African Americans alone.
yeah,
right?
exactly. But when it comes to, you know, wealth, we're like at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And so that's a problem.
Right.
So the only how that's going to be changed is if we come together and we recognize it's a problem, we get the financial education that we need, and we start putting things in place to actually move ourselves forward economically. That's it. There got to be a collective movement.
I agree. I mean, we have, we always talk about this on our show of how many, and it's no knock to the churches, but we have over 250 churches in the Englewood community. Have you solicited or talked to them about offering financial services at their spaces for their members, for residents? Have they solicited you at all?
They haven't,
Okay.
and I've reached out to a couple.
Okay.
Only maybe 3. You know, so
Okay.
I can do a better job of reaching out to the churches, because you're right. The churches are a staple in the community.
Yes.
So it is going to begin with organizations like a church.
Right,
So I
right.
definitely could do a better job at doing that.
I really appreciate this. This is the Englewood Call. This is the Resident Association of Greater Englewood. If anything we talked about today sparked your interest, or you want to contact Cherice Price, or you have a church that you would like, you know what, I would love those financial services in my church or my organization, feel free to call our number, which is actually listed on the screen at 866-845-1032. You can go on our website at englewood.org. You can email us as well at joinrage@gmail.com. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to Cherice, and this is some of the highlights that we have within Rage. We have over about 160 members now, and this is just a sneak preview of some of the assets that we have, not only within Rage, but inside of the Englewood community. I do want to talk a little bit about Rage and just kind of give you a snapshot about who we are if this is your first time contacting us. We were founded in November of 2010, so we're going on about, about 5 years old, and you came in about 2011, right? Okay, and then we are completely resident driven. The individuals that you're going to see on our shows, on our series of the Englewood Call, are residents in the community, and we started this association to build relationships with one another. Regardless of what side of Englewood you own, we feel like it's important for us to connect and build. And like you said, Cherice, maybe even build wealth together, which is very important. We also want to build relationships with our public officials, our business owners, as well as the organizations within the Englewood area. We are completely asset-based, as you heard today, which I know Cherice is an expert in assets. That's the way we work in terms of human capital. We have completely looked at the passion of our members, and that's how we strategize to address community problems, like you were saying, the workforce development, or either trying to build wealth, or any of the other issues in our area. You can always, our members, just to let you know, they reside in all the wards of Greater Englewood. Now, what ward are you in? 16 or 15 now?
That's a good question. I think it's the 16.
16,
It's the
okay.
16, yeah.
They reside in all the wards of the Greater Englewood community, and we have a lot of non-residents who just support our mission and support the work that we do. And then if you want to contact us outside of our actual website, you can go on any of our social media outlets. You can either find us on Facebook at Rage Resident Association of Greater Englewood, or you can find us on Instagram at Rage_Englewood. And if you're on Twitter, if you have Twitter fingers, as they said about Mick Mills, you can find us on Twitter at Join_Rage. So that is definitely a way to contact us. We are accessible. Our members are accessible. Many of these shows will be on our YouTube channel, so you can always tune into those as well. We do appreciate you watching us today. And Cherice L. Price, I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your expertise. And if it was any advice you would like to leave with our viewers today before we close, what would you say?
I would say that it's a great idea always to exercise professional and personal development. I mean, you just got to expand your own reality individually. And once you do that, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. And I also want to add that Englewood does have its own Toastmasters chapter.
Oh, yes.
So if you are interested in learning to become a better speaker or learning to just, whatever. This is just another form of personal development, leadership skills, organizational skills. We would love to have you. So I guess they can call you. And
they can call us at our number here listed there at 866-845-1032. We can connect you. And if someone want to contact you, what would they do?
They can call me directly at, can I give my number?
Yeah, you can give out your number.
312-753-9042.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the Englewood Call. Please know it is a lot of good in Englewood that we love to share, and I'm so glad that we had a guest today that could able to talk about some of the great things that she's doing. So glad to have you as a Rage member, and thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely. It was great being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.